Welcome back to the 10-step, step-by-step program for how to buy your first home. And this is step 6, which means that technically, yeah, you're halfway done. But the reality is you are actually more like 2/3 done, because steps 1 through 5, the pre-planning phases, those are the things that give you your unfair advantage. And there was a lot of extra information in those. And that's good, because that means that right now you're way ahead of everybody else. While other buyers are scrambling and guessing and trying to learn all of the stuff you learned in steps 1 through 5, they try to learn that after they go out and find a home that they like. You're going to be able to find your dream home ready with a plan, a team, and a clear understanding of what to do. So in a lot of ways, steps 1 through 5 are actually more important than the home search itself. Because who cares if you hunt and you find your dream home, and then you don't have a plan or the tools to buy it affordably. So pat yourself on the back for the work that you've already done that's going to lead to your success. As we get into steps 6 through 10, we're going to focus on what you need to do to get to the finish line. And gang, I can't say this with more emphasis. Dig into steps 1 through 5 first. These last 5 steps, if you concentrate on these, it's like skipping to the last chapters of the book. Don't focus on steps 6 through 10 until you have 1 through 5 locked in. These next steps, 6 to 10, think of it as a teaser of what's to come. You still have work to do on 1 through 5, and 6 to 10, they're going to come. And when they come to you, you're going to be able to achieve them with confidence and ease. All right, second half, let's go.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
What's happening, How to Buy a Homies? I'm still David Sidoni, and I'm still stoked to be helping you craft a clear path to homeownership, so you can take control of your life in what is an increasingly uncontrollable economy. Now, there's a lot of fiscal turbulence as I record this in mid-2026, and I assume that's probably going to continue if you're listening to this in 2027. So step 6 is going to help you tune out the noise and focus on you. Step 6 is setting your home buying goals. Goal setting is absolutely a crucial part of this process. And the earlier that you do that, well, then the better chance that you're going to have of shaping your financial plan so you can achieve the most for you with this home purchase. So I'm going to give you permission to go ahead and dream here. I know steps 1 through 5 can get tedious and tiresome, and it's all about the nitty gritty and the numbers. So go ahead. Jump into this step when you need a dopamine hit, because, hey, this is the fun stuff. And it also gives you an opportunity to fully form what you want to buy so you can adjust all the nitty gritty numbers in your big 3 accordingly. I'm going to go over 2 types of goal setting, and this is vital for you to keep in mind. First, you're going to have your entire home purchase goals. That's a combination of your wants and your needs, the must-haves and the like-to-have lists, and also the bigger picture of what this home purchase is going to do for you today, as well as in 3, 5, 10, even 50 years from now. Thus, that horribly awkward, clunky title, the entire home purchase goals. I want to make sure that you're understanding that we're going to be talking about more than just the bedrooms and bathrooms that you want. We're going to set your personal and your financial home goals entirely. You're going to be looking at much more than just the physical aspects of what you want in your home, so you can set yourself up financially for life. The second set of goal setting, now that's for the big 3. What we want to do is help you set practical and actionable goals within your Last Lease Ever program, with targets to hit monthly on everything, your credit score, your debt, and your savings. Because I want to make sure that you're feeling like you're making progress while you're setting yourself up for your maximum buying power. Getting those goals means that you can see it, you can track it. Because I know working the big 3, it can be kind of a grind sometimes, especially when you're a year out from buying a home. So we're going to talk about setting goals with tiny milestones to help reduce the stress, give you that dopamine hit, and help you see forward momentum. I love feeling forward momentum, which ultimately means that you're going to be able to achieve more of the goals that you are setting up in your entire home purchase goals. The beds and the baths and all that fun stuff. So that's where we start with your entire home purchase goals. We're going to encompass everything about buying your first home, not just the physical stuff, not just the HGTV flashy stuff. This is going to help you crystallize the big picture so you can embrace the math along with all the fun home shopping stuff. That combination is going to determine the specific type of home that you want to pursue. And after coaching tens of thousands of first-time home buyers, there's one thing that the gift of hindsight has taught me. There is an investment angle to owning your first home. And that's never been more true than right now in 2026 and going into 2027. The only way that most first-time home buyers can truly succeed in this new economy that we're in right now with the new home prices and the new interest rates is to have a clear understanding of the rent replacement strategy and how this first home is going to build your life. That white picket fence dream from 25 years ago, it's pretty much gone. So it's time to take a new approach. Now, I did say investment, but let me clarify what I mean. I don't teach, coaching, buying, and flipping homes. I definitely wouldn't teach that right now because it's not going to be a winning strategy for the next 5 to 10 years. You missed that boat. That was 2013 to 2022. Things are different now. This investing is investing in yourself with that rent replacement strategy so you can take control in these more uncertain economic times. So part of this entire home purchase goal setting, it's eliminating expensive rent as soon as you can so you can add the financial growth that home ownership offers, which will build a more stable and lucrative financial future for you. So that is why setting and clarifying the entire home purchase goals, that's why it's so important. Now, I do have a trigger warning here. I have seen people when they're getting their goals together, partners working together, I've seen it break up relationships. And I've actually been front row to see it. It was in the kitchen while I was showing a home, in the garage. And there was the one time when one of the buyers, during a screaming and crying match with their partner, right on the front lawn, called an Uber and just left. And you solo people, you're not getting off without a trigger warning either. I got to make sure I have seen people buying a home by themselves mentally wrestle with themselves. Without a clear vision of the entire purchase, they end up spending years in analysis paralysis. So make sure you avoid the fear and the regret by focusing on your goals. And that means more than just the physical attributes of the property. Now, if you're waiting for me to give you a perfect little sheet of what your goals should be, well, based on my it depends advice from the previous steps, your individual goal setting instructions, they're not going to be a one-size-fits-all PDF for everybody. Nope. This type of goal setting is going to cover much more. We're going to go way beyond the physical attributes of the home. We're not just looking at one page. I'm going to write the whole freaking manual just for you. So here's the goal list that I want you to make for yourself. These start simple and get more detailed and then move into big picture thinking. If you're buying with a partner, you must create your lists separately and then share them with each other. Absolutely, you have to do it that way. And I recommend that you have a therapist on standby and make sure you use your inside voices when you're sharing your lists. All right, you're going to start with the neighborhoods, the style of homes, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, the yard, the garage, all the things physically about the home that you think are important. So while you're doing these must-haves, remember this. If you find yourself writing down the type of flooring or a paint color, let me respectfully remind you that that's not the big picture stuff for the home purchase. Those things that are easily changeable should not be a must-have goal, despite what HGTV makes you think. So let's start with location. Is the type of community your goal with your home purchase? Or are you looking for a type of home itself? Is that the goal? Like, do you want a solitary castle and you're only looking at the structure and the layout? Does that matter more to you than the family aspects of the home or the neighborhood or the walkability of the home? What about job time commutes? What about maybe buying a home that's close to your extended family? And does remote working factor into your decision process? Have you on your own or with your family, have you discussed 3, 5, and 10-year life plans? Have you really evaluated in deep detail how this home and where it is going to fit into your overall life plans? In fact, that's going to affect more than location. That's going to affect the style and the time frame that you maybe end up staying in this home. And what about kids? Do you want them or do you not? What about pets? Is this home for them? I've had plenty of people that have bought homes and told me that they bought it pretty much for the yard for the dogs. Where's this home fit in your life? Is the home purchase going to be a long-term home base, Or is this step one with intentions of moving up someday? And you know what? If you are not going to have kids, have you considered how school districts are going to play into your home valuation? Now, the people who are going to have kids are always looking for the good school districts, but the deal is that usually means those homes are a little bit more expensive and eventually will have better resale value. But on the flip side, I've known buyers who aren't thinking about having kids, and they use that to their advantage by buying homes out of the top tier school districts because they can get more bang for their buck and get the real physical home that they want. Now, I mentioned extended family. This is something to think about. Have your therapist number ready on standby for this one too, because here's something to consider. No matter how you get along with you or your partner's extended family or your own extended family, daycare costs. If you're going to have kids, remember, you've already started to learn how to look at your budgeting in monthly terms, in a debt to income ratio term. Daycare is an expense that maybe you don't have today, but it could come later. And family help in this area, living close to them, that could drastically change the math in your mortgage payment affordability each month. Now, getting into the details on the home itself, do you want style, space, functionality? Do you want to have a home in a bitchin' neighborhood and have less house? Or do you want a very specific type of home, even if it's in a shady part of town? Are you thinking about the city? Have you explored the suburbs or maybe even a rural home? What about new build versus resale? Now, if you're looking at those, make sure you can explain why you like one over the other, because to truly decide, you need to know the pros and cons of both types of home purchases. Check out episode 490, and you can get all the comparison details on buying a new construction home versus buying the traditional resale home. And what about the walkability of the home or its proximity to public transportation? Have you checked the walk score of the addresses that you're looking at? Yeah, walk score, that's a thing. It scores homes based on the proximity to restaurants, bars, stores, public transportation, parks, and all kinds of other stuff. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about how long you may want to stay in your hipster phase of your life? Are you ever considering that maybe the suburbs might be something you're thinking about in your future? So as you can see, when you're writing this goal list, the best goal list goes well beyond just a must-have wish list of the beds and the bath and the physical attributes that you want in a home. First-time home buyers should always take into account the big picture because it's a balancing act of getting a home that you feel comfortable living in, as well as finding a home that will simultaneously set you up financially for your next move in your life. As your coach and your super real estate data nerd, let me share this historical data on housing market trends that absolutely needs to be considered when you're making a goal list for a 2026-2027 first-time home purchase. We've entered a new era for first-timers because over the last 100 years, if you held a home for 10 years, the value is going to average a 3 to 4% increase each year during that 10 years, taking into account all the rising and falling that has happened over 100 years. That's the average. So a lot of people talk about buying a home as a safe investment. But the last 6 years, since COVID, we've seen an unprecedented rise in home values, and it cannot continue at this insane pace. I mean, we're talking about freaking 50% increases in prices since 2020. So what should you be looking for in the future? Not that. Expect more of a flat market, more of the traditional, because that 50%, that's insane. And maybe you've heard stories about friends or other people you know who bought a home in 2021 and a couple years later they gained $100,000 in equity and they sold their home and they bought a bigger house. Well, let me be the person to break the bad news to you. Today's buyers, that ain't happening. You're going to need to set more slow and steady goals. And that's okay. It's not as simple to see as, hey, I made $100,000 on my house, but it is still moving you in a forward direction. So when you're working your goals, remember there's a lot of big picture thinking that needs to be considered for today's first-time home buyers. The good news is don't expect this to crash. And that's all because of one thing, low inventory. The demand is still much higher than the supply of homes for sale. There's a great annual survey that I follow, and I really like this one because it surveys both the optimistic and pessimistic economic minds. And because of that, it ends up being pretty spot on. And the 2026 survey, it had the average of everybody, the bulls and the bears. They predicted rising home prices until 2030. Now, they weren't saying at 50%. They're talking about a modest average of 2.6 annual raise in prices for the next 4 to 5 years. Now, if you're new to the podcast, I know this sounds insane when you're looking at today's high prices and high interest rates, but I've been reporting the data behind this since 2019 here on the podcast, and I've been reporting it since 2012 in my own business back in the day, because that's when it started, but the inventory was low. And I know it sounds illogical, but it has happened, and it's forecasted to continue to happen because it's all about the inventory and supply and demand. I've given detailed math all about this in episode 457. Where we are right now is we're in an unprecedented nationwide inventory shortage of homes. 4 million homes short of what we usually need for a stable housing market. And the demand, it's still outpacing supply in more than half of the country. So for you right now, 26 or 27, how is this affecting your goal list? How do you set goals to take advantage of this? How's your home purchase going to fit financially for you or you and your family? Is this going to be the forever home, getting you out of renting and into the dream home you're going to stay in, in 30, 40 years? Or do you want to start using your money wisely today in a rent replacement strategy and use this home as your stepping stone, gaining the benefits of home ownership and getting out of the rent rut? And look, the real estate industry isn't helping you with this long-term thinking. The realtors and lenders are just trying to get to the next sale. But here we are in a new economy. So there are two simple pathways that can save the new generation of 20 and 30 somethings. And I'm here to spread the word. Number one, everybody at any age, specifically people 23 to 25 years old, once you start paying the average rent in the area and you're paying it on your own, well, then you should plan to buy a home. Using the techniques that I coach here, you can do this within 1 or 2 years of planning. That eliminates an entire generation who loses all that rent money. So if that's you, 20 or 30 something, and buying a home is your goal, make this your last lease ever, because that is going to change your economic future. And if everybody does it, it's going to change the economic future of an entire generation. Let you take control and take control out of the hands of the landlords. This is getting power back to the people, and you deserve that. And the second pathway is that first-time home buyers, you got to get a little educated in the housing market data and then set goals accordingly, because it's not just a home purchase. It's a step into a comfortable life in an uncomfortable economic era. We've got inflation and wage gaps and far more power going to the landlords than the buyers. So more on that in just a minute when I discuss plan A and plan B. So right now, if you're here and you're listening to this podcast, you most likely fit into the first pathway that I mentioned. Everybody who's paying their average rent in their area should think about home ownership as soon as they can. If you need the math behind this to help you get behind this decision, go to episode 426 on low down payment options, episode 457 for waiting or buying, and episode 460, which is the real math of renting versus buying. There's still a path to the traditional middle class American dream. It's just changed because this once in a lifetime drop in the housing inventory, it's created a new first-time homebuyer path that you have to follow in order to get a comfortable life. So that's what I'm talking about in goal number one. Goal number two, the one I said I'm going to tease you about a little bit. This is using the education that you gain here buying this first home. Everything you learn in the process so you can set yourself up for real financial freedom, and you can do it with something so simple. The bummer is that few people have been given the tools to learn about this and take advantage of it, but you're getting it right here, right now. It's something designed specifically for today's first-time home buyers so that you can get the life that the boomers got by taking a simple, easy path. This one's simple and easy too. It's just different. Your first home purchase has one factor more valuable than any home that you buy in your entire life, and you only get to do it once. You can get an asset that ages for decades, and that can help you live financially free in this new economy. In fact, this should be the new standard practice, the new bare minimum to help people achieve the stability that the boomers are currently enjoying right now. I call it the plan A and the plan B, and this is what you should do after you purchase this first home. It's the simplest way to secure a future, and that's why it should be considered right now as part of your goal setting for this first home purchase. Plan A, that's the old American dream. You buy this home, you let the equity build, and then you sell it using those profits to buy your next home. This is the path built by our forefathers. But right now, 26 and 27, it's not that simple in this new economy. And no one's bothered to offer you an alternative plan. So that's what I'm doing right now. Plan B, keep this first home forever, gaining the humongous bonus of owning it for the longest time possible. That means it's going to gain hundreds of thousands in equity over decades, and you're going to be set for life. Now, here's how you do it. You buy your first home, enjoy it for 3 months, and then call up your unicorn team and say, all right, we're settled in. We'd like to do what we just did, all that planning again, right now for our next home, even if that's 5, 7, or 10 years from now. Because the cool thing is when you buy a home with strategic advisors, not a door opener and an order taker, well, now you have power. You just learned how to do this. So use your newfound home buying skills to build a plan B so you can buy your second home without selling the first one. So ask your unicorns, all right, we got this house. That's awesome. Now we want to work to longer term plans for the big three, our credit score, our debt, and our savings. We want 2 plans. Plan A is if we sell this home the traditional way, but plan B is what do we need to save up for the next 5, 7, 10 years to keep this home and then buy another home using everything that we learned right now. So I'm telling you, the way things are going right now, this might be the only way to make it work. So make that call because you already know what to do. I mean, look, you're not going to be in any rush. And both these plans are fully adaptable when life throws you curveballs, which it will. But if you're moving ahead and you've got plan A and plan B, the cool thing is if you're doing plan B, instead of having to save it up in a couple of months, you have several years. Now, why should you do this? Because the plan A math used to be the tried and true way to move up the economic ladder. That was how you got the American dream. Buy a house, let it sit, and then boom, you're going to be rich like the boomers are. But that ended after COVID. Back in 2025 in episode 394, I warned that the old American dream was dead. And what I'm talking about is the old path to the dream is dead, but there's a new path to the dream for today's economy. Today's entry-level homes, they're more expensive. That means the math has changed. And I always go back to the math. So if you do plan A and plan B, you're giving yourself options. And you know I love options. The math and the gains with plan B is so jaw-dropping that once you see it, you can't unsee it and you won't want to. Okay, the average $400,000 home rents for about $2,200. Now, if the rent increases 4%, a very conservative number just to make this argument, because I know it's increased a lot more than that in a lot of other places. So it started at $2,200. If I just do the 4% conservative number, in 5 years, you could rent that home for $2,677. Now, that's about $100 less than the full PITI monthly mortgage payment if you used a low down payment to buy that $400,000 home today. So that means in 5 years, you could rent that home and make $100 a month. In 10 years, rent would be $3,275. You could rent it and make $700 a month. And that is just the simple practical numbers around your minimum ability of what you're going to gain as a landlord with your first home. The real wealth comes in all that time that you own it, the equity it's going to gain, and the tax benefits, which, by the way, when you move out and you become a landlord and not an owner in that home, the tax benefits get even better. Look, I'm not asking you to go crazy and sacrifice your life. Remember, you've just done this in a matter of months. You can do this with small incremental savings over the next 10, 15, or 20 years. And if you do that, this home, it can be an inheritance that you give to yourself in 20 years because the average home price over the last 20 years has doubled at minimum. And you can give that gift to yourself in 20 years, not 40 or 50. Your first home purchase can be the economic stabilizing factor so you can take control of your life, especially in these unstable times. With any investment, time in the market is something you can never get back, and it's amazingly powerful. Because the last couple of years, we've had interviews with homies under the age of 25 years old. And some of them are working plans A and plan B. Now, they might move at 30 or 35 years old, but now they have the understanding that in today's market, doing this at 45 years old, if they keep that first home, it's going to have doubled in value. And in 5 years, 7 years, they can make their own personal decision if keeping that home is going to be the right thing for them. And I always tell you guys, I love the options. It's just smart planning in a new world, because most of you listening are, well, probably younger than me, and you're likely to make more money in your life. Maybe for the first year, you can only save $100 a month, but think about it. You're likely to make more money in the coming years. And once you buy this home, you're only going to be paying that fixed monthly housing payment, which means who knows how much more you're going to have in the coming years, especially if you refinance it down to a lower payment. Personally, for me, I'm not out there teaching all the other investment real estate things that you can do. And that's for one reason, because plan B, using your first home as a real estate investment, it's the most underutilized and most valuable type of wealth building available for the average American person. And if you're wondering why no one is out there selling a course on how to do this, well, it's because there's no money in it for them. Realtors can't make money teaching this. Think about it. I mean, if they're teaching plan B, that cuts their future earnings in half. Because instead of helping you buy your first home and then you calling them in 3 years or 5 years to move up, and then you sell that home and buy another one, that's 2 deals. If they teach this, they only get paid once down the line. So no company can make any money teaching this. But my belief, this should be a mandatory class for everybody. I mean, the economy is evolving so rapidly right now. And if you want to keep up with it, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to get what the boomers get, well, then you know what I say? Let's do what the big Wall Street firms are doing. You've been watching them in the last 5 years, buying residential real estate and renting it out. Yeah, that should be on your portfolio. Okay, that's my solution to protect yourself in this jacked up economy. Now let's get into the psychological aspects of your goal setting. Yeah, I want to make sure that you are in the right mindset, because you got to ask yourself these questions. Are you the first one in your family to buy a home? Does buying any home at all feel like a win? Make sure that you really understand and know thyself, because be sure that in buying this home, you're keeping the long game in mind and don't sell yourself short. Buying your first home isn't the end all be all. It's not hitting the top of the stability life ladder. It's the very first rung on that ladder. It's the beginning. This home is the foundation of a whole new life that you never thought was possible for you. And now let me really get in your head. When you're looking to buy a home, are you thinking about the home you grew up in? Do you want to recreate your childhood home with your first home purchase? Or maybe you want something totally opposite because you weren't a big fan of your childhood. When you start thinking like this, you're going to realize that your goal list might end up looking like, I don't know, a crazy entry from your therapy journal. And you know what? That's a good thing, because a home's an emotional place. The more you think about it like a long-term investment and with long-term mindset, the better choices and options that you can consider when you're shopping for this first home. And here's a big tip on your goals. If you really want to get everything you can in making your goal list, you want to find all the options available to you, both in the types of homes and the financial ways that you could be purchasing them. I've got one big tip. Take your realtor and lender to lunch. That's it. The end, period, curtain. Look, those pros, they got to eat. And you're never going to learn more about your options than in that 1 hour. It's not sitting down and going over all the nitty gritty. Just go, hey, tell me stories. What have you seen? Because you yourself can research this stuff till the cows come home. But these pros have one thing you don't: hindsight. They've got stories, good ones, bad ones. And each one of those is going to drop nuggets of wisdom on you. And make sure you bring your goals list, because they're going to add goals that you never even thought about. This is a game changer. Take them to lunch. And if you have the luxury of knowing that your unicorn is your advocate, well, that's huge. That's the difference between a non-unicorn agent trying to get you HGTV buzzwords to get you invested in physical aspects of the home and the wainscoting and all the other silly things that people think are the reason to buy a home. Compromise is coming. Be ready to compromise. I know that is not what you wanted to hear, but you know what? That's the truth. And I want to say this with love. This is how it works. You will make some trade-offs from your original list. And if you didn't, then you didn't go big enough on your original list. Because write your list so you can cross stuff off and get ready for it. Get ready for crossing stuff off. You will compromise. You're going to need to be flexible. That's why I stress clear and complete overall entire goals. Because when you see that full big picture, you're going to know exactly what to cut and what to keep. And the final tip on the entire home purchase goal list, be safe with your budget. Don't overextend yourself. Now, I will give that with a caveat, because if you're one of those incredibly thrifty people, keep this in the back of your mind. It's never harder to pay for the home than it is the first few years. And I've had many conservative buyers not fully grasp that thought. 2, 3, 4 years later, they call me and they say, damn it, we are outgrowing this place quickly. And now that we're into this and we're past those first couple of years, things are getting a lot easier. We know how to budget. We're budgeting better. The payment is fixed. We're making more money. It's getting easier and easier. Man, we should have stretched a little bit more. So walk the balancing line between not overextending, but also understanding the full mathematical picture. All right, that's the entire home purchase goals list setting. And I hope I've opened your eyes to more than the beds and the baths and all the other stuff. So write your lists, set your goals, and then take your unicorns to lunch and ask them to share their hindsight and get some new goals for your list. Now we're going to move on to the second set of goals I talked about at the very top of the show. The practical tips that you can quantify simply. This one's a lot easier than the goals for the home. You should be familiar with this. It's setting your goals in the last lease ever system when you're working on the big three: your credit score, your debt, and your savings. That's all in the playbook episode, Last Lease Ever, episode 441. What you're doing is you're getting your starting point, your target goals, your action steps, and calendaring it out. Easy, right? Yeah, but sticking to it, that's where I see it's not so easy for everybody. These are your younger years, some of the best years of your life, and there are major distractions out there. And that's all good. You should enjoy this process. I'm not your dad. I'm your coach. So you do you. Set the system up for you. Live your life. My advice, I want to make sure that you keep in a mentally good place. Your mental health is super important. So here's some tips for you. You can set up mini milestone celebration moments on your way to your big target goals for your credit score, your debt, and your savings. You can live your life and, do some hardcore adulting at the same time in your PJs in your bed when you go, oh, okay, let's make sure we did this month. Mini milestone celebrations work like this. You're working on your credit score. It goes up 25 points. Awesome. Give yourself an ice cream night out, or plan a binge fest night at home and order in your favorite food, or treat yourself to a movie night out where you buy all the expensive concessions that you want. You know what? Wait a minute. Let's keep that last one in reason. Freaking movie snacks could delay your buying a home by months. So don't just set the end goal, set little milestone goals along the way and reward yourself. And this is one milestone tip that I love because it's got math. Now, when you're working your credit cards, a lot of times you're trying to get them down below 30% usage because that's when you finally start to see positive hits on your credit reports. So if you're doing that, and even if you're snowballing, instead of setting that goal number for 30%, set it to 25%. Now, when you hit 25% usage, go out, celebrate, and pay for that celebration on that very same credit card. You've got 5% to play with right there. I would recommend only using 3 or 4% of it, but do that. Reward yourself. Math. Now, why do I offer tips like this? Because I don't know all of you, but you know yourself and you know your needs. You know your need to be celebrated. You know your need to maybe go out and party a little bit, have some fun. You know what you need to take care of your mental health. If your savings goal is $25,000, are you the kind of person who is fine just to go hardcore and celebrate at 25? Or do you need mini celebrations along the way at $5, $10, $15, $20,000? Cool. Here's a system to keep you sane if you're one of those people that needs those incremental celebrations. Set your first savings goal instead of $5,000 to $5,050. And now blow $50 on you. Second goal, $10,100. $100 for you in a celebration. Third goal, $15,200. Big night out. And your fourth goal, $20,200. See? I caught you. 200 is the max. If you or your partner can't find some kind of reward blowing $200 or less, then you should go back and rethink your entire home purchase process goals, because you might not fully believe in the math and the positive effect of what you're saving for. But again, I'm not your dad. I'm just your coach. You do you. But following these steps for the last lease ever, this is a program that most people who are paying the rent in their area, this is what you can do to buy a home. And maybe if you're doing this, you discover it's not for you. Awesome. But you know what? If you never try it, you're not going to know. You're going to miss 100% of the shots that you never take. After 7 years of doing this here, I've got the How to Buy a Home stats that show that 72% of the people that listen to this show and tell me they're 12 to 18 months away, they bought a home in 3 months. Most of you are more ready than you think. So set up your practical goals and then build in the small victory milestone celebrations to help with your journey. And even if you're someone that's not into that stuff, I'm a firm believer in this stuff. Celebrate, because this isn't all peaches and cream. This is a big deal. And a lot of this might suck. So give yourself permission. It's not counterproductive to go out and spend a little bit of money on yourself for a night out when you're trying to save for this big thing, because stress reduction, that keeps you in a positive mindset, and your mental health is important. And I'm telling you, get ready, because they say that buying a home, it's in the top 3 most stressful moments in life, and it's a roller coaster. The good news for you is you're getting a much higher level of education in the planning, so maybe yours will rank more like 7 or 8 on your list. You're well ahead of the game. Living your best life, that means being in the moment with a positive spirit. So don't be bummed out that you don't have enough saved to buy a house. Everything we're doing here is, no, you can't do that yet. But mostly, I'm telling you, be excited you're here. You are a very small percentage. 1 million people buy a home each year. And you want to hear what's wrong? Go on Reddit. Look at the horror stories, the people who got donkeys, not unicorns. The fact that you're here getting this level of education means that you are planning. You're not floating aimlessly like a rudderless boat on the lake of life. So let the education and the planning bring you that mental lift that you need. And if you need short attention span bursts of information and motivation, check out my Instagram or the TikTok or the YouTube shorts, because those are short little bursts. You can go on my feed and scroll for hours and get a bunch of them, because I've been doing this stuff a long time. And if you're ready to kickstart your planning right now, or if you just want to ask me a question, go to howtobuyahome.com. You can ask David or ask for a unicorn to start your planning today. Now, my final thoughts on goal setting. As humans, when we reach for an achievement, your burning desire to get that achievement, that isn't what got you that achievement. And yeah, that's coming from me, Captain Motivation and Inspiration. I end every episode saying you can do this. But I'm telling you, desire, that's not what gets you there. I heard someone very insightful say this once. They were talking about sports and championships. They were saying desire isn't what makes great moments in life. Because every athlete starts the season, all the pros, they want to win the championship. They all have motivation and desire, every single one of them. But that's not what does it. It's the ones who have the discipline, the structure, the work ethic. Those are the ones who achieve what they desired. And the best way to stay structured in your discipline is to have clear goals with rewards that keep your motivation thriving and rejuvenating you on your journey. That's why the goals are so important. Life is going to suck more than a few times while you're on this journey to buying a home. But with your plans and your goals in place, you can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.